in your notebook and tell me what
And
do you mean by
it is the amount of heat energy that is needed to raise its temperature by 1 degree Celsius of a substance.
Okay, good. Dia, what is the SI unit of heat capacity?
Joule per degree.
Yeah, joule per degree Celsius. Okay. So shall we go to the next term? Specific heat capacity. Next term. So heat capacity means any amount of substance. There is no limit. Okay, there is no, it is not mentioned 1 kg or 2 kg, 3 kg. Just it has said randomly that any amount of substance. So what is the difference between specific heat capacity and heat capacity means? In specific heat capacity mainly mentioned the word 1 kg of the substance. Same as it is, but only thing is here we are finding the capacity for 1 kg substance. Heat capacity means it is a general amount of substance. It is not mentioned for whether it's a 1 kg, 2 kg or 3 kg or 1 liter or 2 liter, how much. So that's the only difference between specific heat capacity and heat capacity. So specific heat capacity is a value, a standard value. So every material, every liquid, every gas, it's on specific heat capacity. Just like specific resistivity. You have learned in electricity chapter the term resistivity. In that we have learned silver, gold, copper has less resistivity than tungsten and alloys. Similarly, here instead of electrical resistivity we have here heat capacity. So the specific heat capacity of a substance is the amount of heat energy that is needed to raise the temperature of 1 kg of substance by 1 degree Celsius. So that is the only difference. Instead of that amount of heat energy that is needed to raise the temperature of 1 kg of substance. Only that you have to add in that. Then you will get the specific heat capacity. So you can write down specific heat capacity of a substance is the amount of heat energy that is needed to raise the temperature of 1 kg of substance by 1 degree Celsius. 1 kg of substance by 1 degree Celsius. Because of 1 kg degree Celsius, we have different SI unit, that kg will come there. So you can write joule per kg degree Celsius. Our equation is SI unit is joule per kg degree Celsius. Here it is joule per degree Celsius heat capacity, but here it is joule per kg degree Celsius. And the expression for specific heat capacity, the heat capacity we are used capital letter S. So here we uses small letter s is equal to capital S by m, that is heat capacity per unit mass. That is why specific heat capacity small letter s is equal to heat capacity by m, that is heat capacity per unit mass, that is equal to del q by m into del T. So you only have to multiply with delta T, you have to multiply mass. So from this equation you will understand that specific heat capacity depends upon two quantities. One is amount of heat energy supplied, then it is depends upon mass, and it is also depends upon temperature, and generally it is depends upon nature of the material. So which are the factors? Nature of the substance, heat, amount of heat energy, nature of the substance, amount of heat energy, temperature. So mass and all, it is very common. Nature of the substance means it is also is depending upon the, it is included mass. So you can write the factors affecting specific heat capacity: amount of heat energy, mass of the substance, nature of the substance, and temperature. Temperature of the substance. And specific heat capacity is different for different substances. It is different for different substances. Now, in the case of instead of mass, next line, instead of mass, if it is given number of moles, instead of mass, if it is given number of moles of the substance, number of the moles of the substance, suppose it's a gas. Gas, we cannot say 1 kg gas or 2 kg gas like that. So you can just say 1 molar hydrogen gas, 1 molar oxygen gas. So because of that, instead of mass, we can substitute number of moles of the substance. Then specific heat capacity is equal to S is equal to delta Q mu delta T, because mu stands for number of moles. Delta Q divided by mu delta T. Mu delta T. Therefore, SI unit will change joule per mole degree Celsius. Instead of kg, we have to just write mol mole. Okay. So you understood. So since because of the moles, we will call molar specific heat capacity. We call this is as molar specific heat capacity. And we can have two types of molar heat capacity depending upon the pressure and volume, because we know that in the gas more than solid, the gas and liquids, the pressure and volume is also can be a matter. So in terms of pressure and volume, we call it two types of molar specific heat capacity. The first one is known as molar specific heat capacity at constant pressure. So molar specific heat capacity at constant pressure. Next class, I mean next chapter, thermodynamics, we are using that term. Constant pressure. Pressure is constant, then what is the molar specific heat capacity? We represent Cp. Capital C suffix P, Cp. Because we will going to get the value of gas constant, universal gas constant, R is equal to what? So that is in the next chapter, thermodynamics. So under this, molar specific heat capacity at a constant pressure Cp and molar specific heat capacity at constant volume. At a constant volume, we represent Cv. Cp and Cv. So Cp and Cv both are not same because of the matter of pressure. Okay. So for example, for helium, if you want to, it is mainly for gases. You can just write for helium, Cp is equal to 20.8 and Cv is equal to 12.5 joule mole raised to joule mole degree Celsius. 12.5 CV, 12.5 joule mole degree Celsius. Sometimes we use the term Kelvin also. So suppose the temperature is given in the Kelvin, then we will use joule per mole Kelvin or joule per kg Kelvin. So that is depends upon. So for helium it is like that. Similarly in the for hydrogen molecule, only these 2-3 you learn in order to understand that. 22.8 and CV is 20.4. If I wanted to write joule mole Kelvin, if it is in Kelvin you can write, it is in Kelvin is given, so you can write it like that. Nitrogen, oxygen, like that, so many things are given. That is what molar specific heat capacity. Now, so these are what do you mean by specific heat capacity, molar specific heat capacity, molar specific heat capacity at a constant pressure and at a constant volume. So next, on the basis of this heat exchange, heat absorption and heat releasing, we call a single isolated system. Either it is a gas. Single isolated system means it should not be affected by some external forces. It should not be affected by any external forces, and that is known as calorimetry. So what do you mean by calorimetry? So calorimetry is on the basis of this heat absorption releasing, we are going to create a branch, small calorimetry, a small branch. So that is calorimetry. So what is calorimetry? It is a system. A system is said to be isolated if no exchange or transfer of heat occurs between the system and surroundings. Surroundings may be your room, maybe your living room, or maybe a park. So all these are surroundings, wherever the heat exchange or transfer. So system is said to be isolated if no exchange or transfer heat occurs between the system and the surroundings. When different parts of an isolated system, next line, when different parts of an isolated system are at different temperature. When different parts of an isolated system are at different temperature, a quantity of heat transfers from higher temperature to lower temperature. Quantity of heat transfers from at higher temperature to the lower temperature depending upon the parts. So that means a system is isolated If you say a system is isolated, there is no transfer of exchange taking place. But if we assume a single machine, one part is in another temperature, another part is in other temperature. If there is a temperature difference between the parts of the system, naturally heat can be transferred from the part which is at high temperature to the part at a lower temperature. Higher part to the lower temperature. So that is the meaning of a system. So this happens in the case of a steam engine, in the case of a train, aeroplane, all this, where they have a machines, even car engines. So car is a system, and engine and other things are system. But we already know that in car engine, fuel is in one jacket, but the water coolant in another jacket. If you open the dicky or boot of the car, you can see there is a pipe and then it's connected to water. So usually you must have seen, maybe your parents or someone when you run the car for long hours, they used to pour the water inside the engine to release the excess heat energy. So that is a system. It's an isolated system, but because of the presence of water coolant and the fuel, these both are different parts of that car engine system, and naturally even it is isolated, there is a transfer of heat taking place. So that is what calorimetry is dealing with that. Thus according to principle of calorimetry, according to principle of calorimetry, heat lost by a part at high temperature equal to heat lost by a part at high temperature equal to heat gained by other part at lower temperature. So this is known as the calorimetry. Heat lost by a part at high temperature is equal to heat gained by a other part at lower temperature. That means whatever the heat loss is taking place from the higher temperature, that much energy will be absorbed by the other particle. Just like a cool engine, when you pour the water on the car engine system, so the heat is lost in that engine, and then the water which we are pouring, that has gained the heat, the same amount of heat. So this is known as principle of calorimetry. Okay. So in generally we can say principle of calorimetry says that heat lost by a body actually equal to heat gained by other body. Heat lost by a body is equal to heat gained by colder body. Instead of telling high temperature, we can also mention heat lost by hotter body. Heat lost by hotter body equal to heat gained by colder body. Okay. Thus, in this case, because of this principle, we can call calorimetry also is a measure of heat. The calorimetry also is a measure of heat on the basis of transferring the heat energy. Because we are dealing with the macroscopic system, so always we cannot use the temperature in a small taking. So we are taking it a big amount. So that's why. Okay. So that is principle of calorimetry, and we use the instruments in order to measure the heat energy in the form of calorimetry, or on the principle of calorimetry. The device which we use to use this is known as calorimeter. That is known as calorimeter. The device in which heat can be measured. Device in which heat can be measured on the basis of principle of heat can be measured on the basis.
Ma'am, you're not audible. Ma'am. Ma'am.
Ma'am, can't hear you.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Now we
Now.
can hear.
Did,
Chat box was also off, ma'am.
okay, fine. Okay, fine. Did you hear what about principle of calorimetry? Because here it is a outer one audio system only kept, so it will be shift as we speak. So if there is no sound is not heard, please let me know. Okay, clear? That's over. So let us do one problem.
Ma'am.
Uh,
Like for 2-3 minutes we couldn't hear anything.
Till where you heard? Principle of calorimetry is over, no?
Yes, I think so.
Then I just nutshell I explained calorimeter, how it is. So calorimeter is a device to measure the heat energy on the basis of principle of calorimetry. You don't have to learn the construction of the calorimeter. And I just explained how this calorimeter look like. It is just like a beaker, a copper vessel beaker, and I have drawn whose measurement you have to take. It will be filled inside the conductor, and between the first vessel and the outer vessel there is an insulator is placed. Maybe some fiber, coconut fiber, or sometimes some insulator like rubber or something, so that the heat energy in this inside container may not lost in the surroundings. And then on the basis we will, with the help of a thermometer, we measure how much, in case some heat energy is lost, you can find out how much heat energy is lost by keeping the thermometer in the outer cover where that insulator and all, in case the heat energy is lost. So that is calorimeter. Okay, so shall we go to a problem? Already in the first this slide I have put a problem. You can copy this as an example, then go for the further problems. A domestic hot water tank contain 200 kg of water at 20 degrees Celsius. How much energy must be supplied to heat this water to 70 degrees Celsius? So initial temperature 20, the amount of water in that is 200 is given. You have to find out how much heat energy you need to supply in order to get the this. Okay. So specific heat capacity of the water is given to you. So here instead of S we are using M. So already you have learned the equation. Specific heat capacity is equal to, you can take this equation also. Some of the books I told you, they have used some other letter. So I can change this equation like this. That is, specific heat capacity is equal to delta Q M delta T. What you have to find out? Delta Q. How much heat energy should be supplied. Therefore, you can write delta Q is equal to Sm delta T. So in this slide, instead of delta Q, they have used energy, and instead of specific heat capacity, we have used the letter C, and it's the same equation. So either any one of that you can use. So NCERT, we are following this. So you have to find out how much heat energy should be supplied to increase the temperature from 20 to 70. Specific heat capacity value is given 4200. It's a constant value of the water. Water, this much is the specific heat capacity. Mass is given to you. Delta T. Delta T means final temperature minus initial temperature. Final temperature is 70, initial temperature is 20. So that is why in the equation it is substituted. 200 into 4200 into 70 minus 20. Finally, you will get the answer this. So this is a simple problem, direct problem. Those who wanted, if you wanted to learn, you can also learn this equation also. This is given in some reference book. Instead of a C, you can learn this also. It's not necessary. Any one equation by heart. Don't confuse with both equation. Both are same. Okay, have you completed that, children? Shall we go for another question? Okay, shall we go to one question? One more question. Time is there. 12:06. Have you completed, children, all this question? Completed problem, or you wanted to see the slide again?
Ma'am, just one question, right?
Okay. No, you complete. I thought because next problem it may require time. So you complete it, then I am leaving you now. Maybe 5 more minutes because 12:15 is next class for you, no? So if those who want to have you can go. Because I will teach you the problems in the next class. Okay? Complete it. Those who finish, you leave the meeting. Those who do not complete this, you can copy and let me know. I'll stop the sharing. So when we meet 1:45, we will discuss the rest of the problems. Okay? Over?